What's up everyone, my name is Joe and welcome back to Film Focused. As you can probably tell by the title of this video, I finally got a chance to shoot some Portra 800 through my Pentax 672. And oh my goodness, this film is a dream to work with. I absolutely love it. This was my first time shooting it in 120, but I've used it in 35mm before, and I did make a video with my Nikon F100 a few weeks ago. If you have seen that, you already know my initial thoughts on this film. If you haven't, I highly recommend you checking it out. I will leave a link in the description down below. So, moving forward, talking about this film in medium format, shooting it on 6x7 is phenomenal. It's such a beautiful film. Even looking at scans like up to 100%, comparing them to scans from Portra 400 or 160, it's really hard to tell the difference. And really that's for two reasons. One, shooting 6x7, the negatives are just so large that the film grain is still going to be just so small even when you've zoomed in pretty far. Now, the other reason why the scans look very, very similar is because my scanner is only so good. I use a Epson V850 Pro. It's a higher end consumer scanner. Cost around $1,000. Now, even though these scans are good and I have no problem using them and being able to enlarge photos to around like 40 to 50 inches, these scans, they can't hold a candle to like an Imicon virtual drum scanner, something that a professional like film lab would use. So my scans, they're only so sharp, only have such good color accuracy that shooting, a film that's rated at 800 and a film that's rated at 160 or 400, it's going to be really hard to tell the difference. But like I said in my previous video, I think this film is 100% worth the $10 per roll, even shooting it on 120, which if you're shooting at 6.7 or 6x7, you're only getting 10 images per roll. So that's $1 a frame, and I still think it's completely worth it. Now, if you are someone who's on a budget or someone just getting into film photography, Portra 800 probably isn't the film for you, but eventually I highly recommend you trying it out at least once. It'll help you to expand your horizons. It'll also help you to be a bit more careful with your exposures because it's a more expensive film. But ultimately, it's just such a beautiful film. I think everyone should try it. Now, if you are an enthusiast or maybe a professional photographer who gets paid for their work and spends a lot of time shooting, you need to work this film into your workflow. It is so amazing. I love it. And I think I said this in the previous video, I'm probably going to make this like my one and only color film stock from here on out. Like, I love it that much. So before I just keep rambling on, let's take a look at some of the photos I shot, talk about the film, talk about why I like these images, and then we'll close out the video later. So when I finally got a chance to shoot this film, I actually made plans with a good friend of mine. His name's Kyle. He just got his first DSLR and has been super psyched on getting out and shooting as much as he can, and that's made me extra psyched as well. So unfortunately, I did have a tight deadline with some photos for a client of mine, and I wasn't able to break free from that until right around sunset. So we had like 45 minutes left until the sun completely went below the horizon, and we drove over to a local park that isn't too far away. And when we got there, we actually noticed these boats that were behind the neighborhood across the street. And so we walked over there, and even though the sun was already below the tree line, the quality of light was just so pretty, and it really added to really the characteristics of Portra, and I think it suited this film really, really well. The entire Portra line is already pretty low contrast in terms of like the inherent contrast of the film, and that definitely rings true with Portra 800. The color palette of Portra 800 is it's phenomenal. It's just so beautiful. And I think it really suited this scene very well. This image is probably my favorite from the roll. I took a different look at the boat from the first image and wanted to focus in on the mast that was coming off the bow and all the cool wires and rope that was wrapped around it. And you can see just the resolving ability of this film is really, really impressive. And having that paired with the Pentax 6.7 and the 105mm f2.4 lens is just, it's a match made in heaven. If you don't know the conversion, basically when you're shooting a 6x7 camera, all of the like focal lengths and apertures are basically double of what you're shooting on 35mm. So this lens is the equivalent of roughly a 53mm lens that shoots at f1.2. So even though it's shooting extremely shallow, you physically have more image area due to the larger negative. Therefore, you're able to get more in focus and have a nice, softer, I guess like gradation of the focus falling off. So that's what really creates that medium format look. It's the actual larger film size. We also have extremely large scans. So like I said earlier, my scanner is only so good, but I can still make extremely high resolution scans. Like these scans were 12,000 by 9,000 pixels originally. So I've down-res them and then cropped into 100% to show you just the ability of this film paired with a decent scanner. If I had a virtual drum scanner or professional lab scan these, they would probably be significantly better, but these are still more than good enough to print an image that's 30, 40, 50 inches long, and I've done that before with no problem. What a lot of people kind of get caught up in is the actual sharpness of an image, and if you zoom into any image far enough, it's going to get soft, it's going to get muddy, it's going to get ugly. But the perceptible sharpness, or what you can actually perceive as being sharp, that's what's most important in an image. So it doesn't necessarily need to be like tack sharp. As long as it looks sharp from a regular viewing distance, that's how photographs are meant to be viewed. So you can see here zooming into this boat, which I also shot at f2.4 because of the fading light. There's still just so much sharpness and detail, even though if I zoomed in further, it would probably get a little soft. As for this next image, apologies to the faint of heart, I actually almost stumbled over this after shooting the previous image of the boat. It was like right behind me, and it's what's left of maybe like a hawk or a small falcon. And yet again, I did want to stop this down a little bit, but because of the fading light, I had to shoot at 2.4 so that I could keep my shutter speed fast enough because I did not have a tripod with me. But still, you can see the resolving power of this film is really amazing. The color palette is just so beautiful. And this was actually the last image I shot on this roll that day because we just ran out of light. So this next image is just a cliche mirror selfie. Just threw that in there to have a little test of the film and to see how it works in all different types of light. And as you can see, this film is just beautiful, really, in any situation you put it into. Zoomed in here, you can see that I just barely missed my eye, which was what I was focusing on, but above on the patch on my hat, you can see that that is just tack sharp. So even though this is an 800 speed film, it's still super sharp and almost no grain whatsoever. Then this last image was the last image on the roll, and it was a higher contrast scene. It was super cold outside, so I didn't want to head out, but I thought that this would be a good little test of a higher contrast scene that I didn't get to do the previous day because of the fading light. So here you can see there's plenty of information in the highlights and to the shadows, and a really beautiful gradation of color and information all the way from the highlights down to the shadows. I think this film definitely speaks for itself. It is such a beautiful film to work with. I only have 2 more rolls of 35 left, so I need to pick up more 35mm and more 120 film. So I'm going to put in an order with B&H very soon, and you guys definitely should too. All right, I hope you guys liked those images and enjoyed this video. Please leave any comments or questions you may have down in the comment section below. I will get back to every single one that I can. Please subscribe to this channel, like this video, share this video. All of that really, really helps. We just broke 1,000 subscribers not too long ago, so I'm really looking forward to growing this channel and creating a community just of all things film photography and sharing my love of film photography with you guys. So let's just keep it rolling. And one last thing before we end the video, I want to give a big shout out to my buddy Eddie. He actually made me this shirt for Christmas. You're awesome, man. This shirt is so cool. Thanks a lot, and thank you everyone else who's stopping in just to watch the video. I really appreciate your time, and I hope you have a great rest of the day wherever you may be, and happy shooting. I will see you next time.